I'm Lila of Nevolution, and today I'll be giving commentary on Neville Goddard's lecture, The Flood is Still Upon Us. Neville says, "It didn't happen thousands of years ago. The flood is on. This is the flood. The whole vast world is inundated with facts, like the prominent papers, the evening paper, the Examiner, and they are proud of the fact that they only print facts. They don't embellish it, no frills, only the facts. Therefore, buy the facts, and they go all over the world to find frightening facts. I'm not denying that he didn't kill her. I'm not denying that he did not receive a sentence of X number of years. But when people ask anything of me, I'm not concerned about why it happened. What do you want?" And I will simply apply my imagination lovingly on behalf of that request. I don't care what brought you to that state. I'm here to simply get you out of the state. What do you want? All through the Bible, what do you want? He didn't condemn anyone. The woman taken in adultery, he didn't condemn her. What do you want? Go and sin no more. He didn't call the act of adultery a sin. If she called it or they called it a sin, all right. Call it a sin. Therefore, don't repeat it if you call it a sin. Sin is simply knowing what to do but not doing it. That's sinning. So if I discover what to do to penetrate a fact, to go beyond the fact and create a condition for myself and dwell in it, and think from it instead of thinking of it, for the great fallacy of the world is perpetual construction, deferred occupancy. So studying the teachings of Neville Goddard, we really have to wake up and realize, all around us we're surrounded by all kinds of news, all kinds of gossip, and so forth, that tell us what the facts of life are. But if we learn our world, the world is created by what we believe in, what we continuously feel and impress upon our subconscious, then we ought to learn to be mindful of what we indulge in the world, because it will tell you all kinds of facts, and before you know it, you're brainwashed, hypnotized by it, or it's just going to delay or stop what you really want in your life. So knowing this, step it up and be discerning what you give your attention to, what you allow to influence you and make you feel certain things. And those things can be very compelling, because that's their business, especially the business of fear, because it does sell. It may seem that humans in general seem to be kind of hardwired to want to be thrilled, or maybe because of fear, especially the unknown, they look for something outside of themselves. But often those outside things are focusing on a certain narrative. That's okay, because the suffering eventually leads us back to looking within, to these great teachings. Neville goes on, we are actually inundated with the facts of life. And these facts, we change them every day. Today, this is the cause of so-and-so. Tomorrow, that's not so. It is another cause we have found, and the next day another cause. But while we haven't found the next cause, we believe that to be the fact, and we worship the facts. So I tell you, all things are in the human imagination. And just think about what Neville's saying here, just the history of things. Back in my parents' time, housewives were told that uppers and downers are okay to maintain the weight and go to bed, and then doctors found it's addictive and can wreak havoc in one's life. And then when I was a kid, they said the white whole milk, the white breads and pastas are no good, so consume skim milk and whole grains. And now, in adulthood, and now they speculate, well, eating too much whole grains might not be good because it's an anti-nutrient. And now more than ever, all these people have various autoimmune and digestive issues and become gluten intolerant. And now they even dare to say, maybe fat is good for us. Our brain is made of mostly fat. So go past all these so-called facts that often change throughout the lifetime. Make your own facts with the power of imagination. That's why you're here. That's why you're drawn to these lessons, to stop being a slave to something on the outside. And I know it might seem scary at first when you've lived only by facts, but these lessons will help give you the confidence, and repeated will help make them a beneficial fact in your life as your growing experiences prove them true. And back to Neville. And the one thing the whole vast world aches for is the awakening of the imagination. And when it comes with the birth of the promised child, which sets a man free from the horrors of the world we call the world of nature. For nature is simply that principle on which depends the sameness of forms in transmitted light. And so the thing goes over and over. Haven't you observed a year that at a certain time of the year, money is tight? All of a sudden it flows, and then at a certain time of the year it stops. Why? It's a habit. It's a transmitted state. You fix that fact in your mind's eye, and if you got $50,000 today, and say it's the month of December when money is always tight, you are going to loan the money out and give it away before December comes by. So when it comes by, you are going to be tight again. It's a peculiar, I would say slavery, this thing called nature, and the sameness of forms and transmitted light. So reflecting on Neville's words here, some people ask, why does it sometimes seem so hard to manifest or change? And that's because habit. We become enslaved to these habits. We might not even see these patterns of habits in our life, but this is what keeps us entangled and enslaved. So what to do? Neville says, but the thing is to practice. We are the operant power, and the flood is on. Let no one tell you the flood is over, and the flood is deeper and deeper, because we are more and more inclined for facts, the facts of life. Do you want the facts? Well, you had better make the prison walls all the thicker, but learn how to penetrate the facts. As you penetrate the facts, you must go to a certain objective beyond the fact. What do you want now? Well then, you go into the state of the wish fulfilled. What is the state? You decide. You determine what you want in this world, and you go right into that state and then ignore the facts. Suppose the facts now still deny what you did. It doesn't matter. Let the facts remain. They will dissolve. They will all dissolve because you are going to remain faithful and you will occupy the state. No longer are you going to construct it and not occupy it. You are going to occupy the state. And as you occupy the state, it is going to work. So with what Neville's saying here, so the solution? Knowing what you want and using the power of the imagination, going to the end. What would it feel like if you had what you wanted? What is a scene you would confront if you had what you wanted? Would someone be congratulating you? Would you be thanking someone? Bring in that power of touch, especially those poignant times when the mind is kind of sleepy, less likely to interfere, and the subconscious is present. Your awareness is beyond all of this, and yet it's all contained in your awareness. So those sweet spots tend to be before going to sleep and/or upon awakening, or even after a good meal, say lunch, whatever. Sit down and take a few moments to intentionally daydream, focused on what you want. Sometimes it only takes a couple seconds. Some people may feel they want a few minutes, but you don't have to overdo it either. As Neville has taught before in other lessons, light frequent throughout the day would be better than trying to force a half hour or so of imagining, unless you find that joyful, of course. And going back to Neville, a man can be imprisoned by gluttony. He can break it if he knows what he wants. Maybe he doesn't really want to give it up. If he wants to give it up, let him create with his mind's eye a scene, a simple scene that if he had given it up, a friend or some relative would know. He doesn't brag about it, they simply know, and there is a normal discussion that he has no longing for it anymore. He has no desire for it. He didn't take any drugs for it. He didn't do anything to feed it. Just simply, it wasn't there. The certain taste that we have in this world, all of a sudden you've had it. You are saturated with it, and you don't want it anymore. All things are acquired. And with what Neville said, I think sometimes we try to overcomplicate things. Just remember the simple scene he made here. Just like that, the wish fulfilled. It didn't have to go through a bunch of loops and turns and ups and downs. I find a lot of people today are accustomed to watching the modern movies, and they're so filled with thrills, twists and turns and ups and downs, and it's become so normalized that sometimes people will argue with me and say, there's nothing wrong with those movies. They don't affect me or my subconscious in any way. And yet when they tell me about their life, whether it's in certain fields like finances, it's filled with all kinds of ups and downs. At some point, you're going to realize the importance of a mental diet, and you're going to do it. And many of you are already doing it, and have found your promised land, or are surely on your way already. In closing, Neville says, you can acquire the taste of living in comfort. You can acquire the taste of living as a gentleman or a lady. Acquire the taste. If you want to actually live like a lady, live like a gentleman, with no pressure to pay the rent, no pressure to do these things, all right. Assume that you are that lady, you are that gentleman. Penetrate the facts. The facts tell you that you are not, you don't have it. Penetrate the facts and live in the state as though you had it. And may I tell you that from experience, you'll have it. You will actually have it. Don't ask me how. The ways and means are contained within the state that you enter. So you enter a state. It contains all that is necessary to externalize that state. So pick out your state, a lovely state, and go right into that state and dwell in it. I call that occupying the state and thinking from it instead of thinking of it, just as you now think from your present state, with all the facts around you to anchor you into it. Get into another state, all in your imagination, and the facts will appear to anchor you into that state. And the day you tire of it, you can get out of it and go into another state. You know, when you move into a new home or move into a new city, you have to actually adjust to it. Well, you are the pilgrim passing through unnumbered states. The states remain, but you, the pilgrim, pass through them, like a traveler passing through a city. The city remains, but you, the traveler, pass through it. So you go right into another city. You don't rub out the state. Poverty remains a state when a man who was once poor moves out of it. He moves out of the state of poverty into the state of affluence. But he doesn't destroy the state of poverty. Anyone can fall into it. And just as Neville said that, anyone can rise out of it as well. So if you close your eyes right now, you can feel this current state. You're hearing these words. Perhaps you're sitting down, and you can sense the walls all about you. And you learn to penetrate this fact, and you do it all the time anyways. All throughout the day, people's thoughts are all over the place, often on fears or frustrations or anger. But you can daydream and remember some poignant memory in your life, like a time that brought you a lot of happiness like the 1980s. And I can remember a scene back then, and I can forget the world that's around me right now. And my imagination can make it so powerful, it's almost like yesterday. And you can take that power and redirect it. Say you want a certain amount of money in your life, and let's say that certain amount of money bought a whole new lifestyle. So you close your eyes, and you start to sense, and you start to feel with your wisdom and intuition. What would I be surrounded with right now if I had that wealth? What would I be doing? What would I be sitting on? And if it's a different seat, you start to feel that beneath you. Certainly the walls may be different. Maybe you've moved somewhere else. If you're sensitive, you may sense the change in the space, even the air. Maybe it's a place where outside is surrounded by different sakura trees in the spring or maple leaves in the fall. Or with your closed eyes, you sense the blinking of the Christmas illumination outside. Whatever it is, you make that inner world come real. You already do it. And when you visit this regularly, regardless what the outside facts say, you make a place for it, where you'll feel saturated. You won't need to do it anymore. And in a way you may not have expected, your manifestation outpictures in your life. Sometimes people do manifest up until the point of manifestation as well, and that's okay. And now the time to take even a few seconds to feel a heartfelt wish already fulfilled. What do you want? How would it feel to have what you want? Who would congratulate you or thank you? Would they shake your hand, pat you on the back, give you a hug? Take this vision into the silence. And now let us go into the silence. Good.